This is it, your final opportunity to join the 6 Pillars at Sea Marriage Getaway. In April 2025, we're setting sail for our last ever marriage getaway, and we want you there to experience the unforgettable journey to the extraordinary marriage you desire. Don't wait. Spots are extremely limited and they're filling fast. Get all the details now at oneextraordinarymarriage.com/getaway and reserve your place before it's gone.
From Naples, Florida, this is the One Extraordinary Marriage Show, where being busy is overdone, romancing is fun, and scheduling sex is taking the guesswork out of wondering when you're going to get some. I'm Tony DeLorenzo, your co-host, along with my beautiful wife, Elisa. From coast to coast and around the world, thank you for joining us. It's time to talk sex, love, and commitment. Give us a call or text us on the Hug Hotline at 858-876-5663, or send us an email to hugs@oneextraordinarymarriage.com. In today's episode, we're taking a moment to give thanks, not just for the big things, but for the everyday ways your spouse shows up for you and your marriage. Whether it's laughter in the little things, stepping up during a challenging season, or simply growing together year after year, thankfulness strengthens connection.
Absolutely. And as we start today's episode, I just want you to think about this quote from Vincent Peale that says, "The more you practice the art of thankfulness, the more you have to be thankful for." And I love that because I think it really speaks to the fact that thankfulness is a skill. And like so many of the things we talk about here at One Extraordinary Marriage, as you develop those skills, you do have that deeper connection with your spouse. And we love to start every episode with a hug, because a hug is an opportunity for us to express gratitude, I think, really for what you all are doing and how what you hear here on the podcast, you take into your own marriages and what you do with that. And this hug actually comes from a conversation that we had with a 6 Pillars of Intimacy small group attendee. I know it's a lot of words there. Basically, somebody that was in a 6 Pillars of Intimacy small group. And shout out to all of our 6 Pillars of Intimacy small group leaders.
Yes.
We are so grateful for you sharing 6 Pillars with all of the people in your small groups.
Absolutely.
But this young couple said, I think the one thing that the 6 Pillars have really helped in is in more communication. Because I feel like before we were really just going through that, before we were going through the small group, we didn't have as frequent conversations about what's going on in our marriage. And after we've been going through this, I think the communication has been a pretty big thing. And this couple, they've been married a year. They've got a little baby. They're going, a lot of transitions.
Yeah.
Right? And here they are stepping in their very first year of marriage, doing 6 Pillars of Intimacy as part of a small group, and seeing their communication change. And I know there are a few of you that have been married many, many years that are like, man, if we had had this when we were in our first year married, yeah, trust me.
We said the same thing.
Tony and I are thinking the same thing. So this is the episode every year that comes out the week of Thanksgiving. And gosh, every year it's got a slightly different flavor to it, in addition to all the flavors that you've got on your table, right? You've got the sweet potatoes with or without marshmallows, because I know some of you are like that. And you've got the turkey and you've got, travel here, and you've got all of these different things that are going on. And it can be really easy to get caught up in all that activity and all those other people. And yes, making sure your kids say thank you and please pass and all of that kind of stuff. But it can be easy in that midst of all the busyness to forget to take time to connect with your spouse and actually express what you're thankful for, whether it's what you're thankful for in them or through them, or what they've done this year, or what your marriage looks like this year. Right? Sometimes we can get so focused on the person that we don't actually look at the relationship and say, well, how has our marriage grown and changed this year? And one of the things that we do in the episode, and we have, is this our 15th? 2010. If we started in 2010, this is probably our 15th Thanksgiving episode. That's crazy. Yeah, because if you had gone 1 to 4. Yeah.
That's it. 15 years.
15 years. Or
15 episodes anyways.
15 Thanksgiving episode, which is crazy. It's hard to believe the show's going to be 15 in January. But we always take a little time in this episode to express what we are thankful for.
We do. Do you want to kick it off, or you want me to kick it off?
You can kick it off.
All right. So here's something cool that I've been doing over the last year or more. So for those of you who have heard me speak about this, I've written down my belief statements. This year I've done it every single night. So I have 16 belief statements. I write them down every single night. And then under that, I do best thing. And it's really like What am I thankful for? What am I grateful for today? And I do a personal one and then I do a business one. And it's really interesting because my nature is always looking forward. I'm a futuristic type of person. What's the future going to hold? What are we doing tomorrow? Not what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday we learn from, and yet we don't settle on it. And so as I was preparing for this, I pulled this out.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? Let me go through this and see what I've been grateful for this year on the personal level, right? And a lot of that has to do with Elisa, obviously. And it was really cool to look back, though, because, you know, you look at the date and you go, okay, what was going on then? And so here are a couple of mine. I don't know. Do you want me to do some and then we can go back and forth? How do you want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, just as you're tying it in either to me or into the marriage, I mean, that was because, just a couple.
Yeah. So one of them that came up early in the year was cuddling throughout the night. And I think about that now and hear me out for this one. We haven't been able to do that much recently. One, you've been having a lot of hot flashes. The perimenopause type thing has gone on. I have my shoulder that's been really aching and hurting. And I looked at that. And I'm like, wow. Like we still touch each other at night. But I remember in the beginning of the year, like we cuddled. Like,
it may have also been that it was so much colder in San Diego than
it
it
doesn't.
is in
No,
Naples.
but I didn't have a shoulder that was
the shoulder, I think, is a big thing.
And everything either. And yes, I've tried to go on the other side of the bed, and we tried to switch sides.
We did.
And
it was like
work.
3 days.
Yeah,
it was hard.
So I wasn't thankful for that.
Pass
on that one. So another one, seeing and experiencing new places. Loving text messages. Our morning shower routine.
We have a conversation every morning in the shower, almost every morning.
Yeah.
Like that's our time.
Yeah. But I'm looking back and looking through this and I'm going, these are some of the best things that came up. And I'm going, I wonder why that came up that day.
Sure.
And I don't know why.
Yeah.
And yet I just look back and I go, there must have been some significance that morning for me to have remembered it that evening.
Which is so crazy because I keep a different type of journal. I keep like a 1 day at a time, 1 sentence at a time. And so it'd be really funny to actually match up his dates with my dates to see if there were, because I would just write down one statement of something significant that happened every day. And so I wonder if there's a parallel there.
Yeah, I wonder. I have a few more that I'd love to share though. Holding on to each other during difficult times. I think about January, when we were dealing with some difficult situation in our own marriage and thinking like, all right, we're still going to hold on to each other. And then coming the end of July, driving across country to our new home, that drive, I think will forever be seared in my mind in some way, shape or form. It'll be
I'm pretty sure we still have the stress
from it. Yeah. It'll be something we tell our grandchildren about and how we moved east after many years on the West Coast. Beach time in different places. I'm grateful for that. Like that has been a dream and a desire of ours. Like people think, oh, you're in California, all those years. Honestly, folks, the beaches out there don't even match to the beaches here in Florida.
In the Gulf.
There's no dang comparison. Like the beaches out here are so much nicer and the water you can actually get in.
Warmth is a thing.
Yeah. But I mean, our time on the Dominican, in Cancun with the marriage getaway, I mean, we've done different beaches this year. And then new types of walk and talks. And I'm grateful for that because they sort of lost their luster for us as we were just building up to the move and so many different things moving. And we've found a rhythm here now that I think works for us. It's more early morning. We're up. It's also more of a workout for us, but it's also our time and it's a walk and talk. And it's not every day because you do your thing, I do my thing, but we're making it happen once or twice
Absolutely
a week.
Absolutely. So it's interesting and probably not all that surprising. For those of you that have been listeners for a while, at least this year, you will hear some of similarities between what Tony and I share with you in this episode in particular. And we don't actually, one of the things you need to know is we didn't actually share lists
No.
before this moment. So I had no idea what he was going to say, but I had my list and I just make him go first because I prepped the episode. So interestingly enough, I woke up in the middle of the night and thinking about recording today. And I did think back to January. And for those of you that haven't listened to the episode on apathy, I would suggest going back and listening to it. I'm grateful, and I've said this to many of my coaching clients over this year in particular, I'm grateful that you loved me enough to say we aren't working. That there's a problem in our marriage and that you did it in a way, as hard as it was for you, you did it in a way that still showed me that you loved me and in a way that I could hear it so that I could take action on it. Right? Because that's a conversation that could go wrong a million different ways. And here we are 11 months later or 10 months later, and our life has dramatically changed.
Yeah, and that's episode 790. So I'll put a link here because I do believe it was a transformational moment in our lives at 27 years married.
Absolutely. You know, another significant aspect or thing that I'm grateful for this year is the fact that we are in Florida. That you had that dream, that vision all those years ago. And what's also really interesting about our dynamic, and I didn't think about it until he said it just the way he said it, is Tony is very much a futurist. He is looking towards the future. He is looking at all of those different things. He is married to someone who, by nature, and I've had this in my strengths finders, and I can't remember what it's actually called, but I look at the past as an indicator for the present. Tony looks at the future as an indicator for the present. And so sometimes these two things can like really go all over the place.
In other words, we can butt heads at times.
But I'm actually I'm grateful for that because you know, if we were two different if we were the same people, and I said this in 6 Pillars of Intimacy, if we were the exact same person, one of us would be irrelevant.
True.
And I am grateful, as much as it frustrates the heck out of me sometimes, I am grateful that we are different and that you challenge me in those ways. I'm grateful that 10 years ago when you had that vision that we would be location independent and you just kept working to make that happen. And within 2 months of Abby graduating from high school, we closed the chapter on our California life, packed up, stressful drive across country. We'll leave out the first 3 days of that trip, 2 days, but made this drive to start in a brand new location because we could. And I'm so grateful that all of the effort and what you all don't know. And gosh, if you ever just want to say thank you to Tony, you guys don't know how much effort he puts into making sure everything that happens behind the scenes so that you all, whether it's the podcast or the books or, you know, all the social media and coordinating the team, like he does all of that. The coordination and everything. And if he didn't, you guys, I can promise you One Extraordinary Marriage would not exist the way it does today. If it was up to me, and my skill set and what I do, it wouldn't be. And so I'm grateful for the heart and soul that you have poured into the One family, into building our teams, into all of this, because this doesn't happen. Like, we don't get to work on our marriage through a conversation once a week if Tony isn't who Tony is. And so I know you guys get to listen to the podcast and you're like, yeah, I love listening to the podcast. But here's the thing. This podcast is what saved our marriage. And I'm grateful for that because every once in a while it really hits me that if we did not have a conversation once a week, I don't know that we would still be married. I don't know the quality of our marriage. And it's not just the once a week conversation, but this has been all the things.
Consistent thing for
this is the most consistent thing that we have done since January of 2010. Not our sexual or our intimacy lifestyle, not walk and talks, not any of that. The number one most consistent thing that we've done even on the weeks we don't want to, even on the weeks when I'm being ornery, even on the weeks when the tech doesn't work, all of those types of things is we've had a conversation once a week. It is our glue. It is our secret sauce. And I'm grateful that we still have things to talk about. I'm grateful for just the commitment that you've made, because it's forever changed my life. And I don't know that you know how much you've impacted my life just in your commitment to doing all of this.
Well, you're welcome. And it's been a heck of a ride, and one that I wouldn't change for the world. Yeah. The friends, everything that comes with it has been truly amazing. And with that, last week on Instagram stories, we asked the question, when thinking about your spouse or your marriage, what are you thankful for this year? And honestly, we are truly blessed by the one family.
100%.
There is no other community out there in the marriage world like the one family. And I know this, and I'm speaking to you right now, because from myself and Elisa, you guys are special. You're special. You're someone we may not know. Like, we don't know your face. We know names because of Facebook group, Instagram, whatever it may be. But you're special. People know the one family outside of who we are. They know. And it's amazing because we get responses like this. My lovely wife of 28.9 years.
I love that. I love the decimal point. So happy anniversary to whoever you are.
Absolutely. I just love that specificity.
Yes, specificity.
Thank you very much. Testosterone. Hey, for those of you who've gone through hormone replacement therapy, you know what that can do to your life and your spouse's life, Her constant love and support and trying to understand my ADHD.
Yeah, he was by my side when I had a stroke and after. We started life in a new city together. We know that one. Having the best sexual intimacy in 33 years. And that actually came from a wife. I'm just gonna float that out there.
Let's go.
We celebrated 30 years this summer, and the last two have been the best yet. Our progress in communicating. My spouse survived a pulmonary embolism and has decided to become healthier.
Wow.
Laughter in the everyday little things. It's so special to share just a handful of things that you're grateful for, because we know every single one of you that listens to this podcast has your own thing that you are thankful for this year. And it's not enough just to know what you're thankful for. It's what do you do with that awareness of thankfulness, and how do you deliver that to your spouse? And we're going to talk about that after this break.
Deep in the ocean, an orca pod is on the hunt. But these aren't your average orcas. These guys are organized.
Marketing team, did you get those social media posts scheduled for the SEAL migration? Aye, Captain. We even have an automated notification for all pod managers when they go live.
They use Monday.com to keep their teamwork sharp, their communication clear, and their goals in sight. Monday.com. For whatever you run, even orcas. Go to Monday.com to dive deeper.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
We're back, and we know, as we've been talking about in this episode, that this week is all about giving thanks. And actually, I think here in the one family and with our marriages, it's taking that thankfulness just one step further and actually using our thankfulness to create deeper connection with our spouses, to create deeper connection in this marriage relationship. And I think it's one thing, like I said, to know it, but what do you do with it? Because a lot of times we can hear or we can see things, and it registers that that's gratitude. It registers that your spouse is doing something to express their appreciation at the head level. But getting it to the heart level where you're like, oh, like I felt that one. That's really like that one sits, and it sits in a good way. It's like it's going to be like little that little gift box that you just keep because you know every time you open it, it just puts a smile on your face. And so what we did last week on Instagram stories was we asked all of you 2 very specific questions in addition to what are you thankful for over this last year. We also asked the questions, how do you like to express or give thanks to your spouse? So what do you do? And how do you like to receive it? And the reason I asked these 2 different questions was because sometimes the way we give
isn't necessarily the way we receive.
Correct. And if you and your spouse don't have the conversations about this, there can be a disconnect in the head and heart because you're like, okay, yeah, you know, that was nice. You gave me a compliment and that's sweet. But like what needs to be recognized that it gets to the heart level, or what are those things like, you know, here are some of the ways that y'all give.
So hold on. So before we go to that,
yeah,
would you say a conversation between spouses to sit down and go, okay, how do you like to receive? Like I want to do this year with you. I want to like be able to share what I'm grateful for. So is it good to be able to say, hey, what's the best way for you to receive that? Because you and I talking about it, I think it really touches us. Now, could we write letters to each other and love notes and this, that, and the other? Yeah, but I think for us, and for me in particular, I really resonate in the spoken, right? Where somebody else may be like, I don't want my husband to share that with me in person. I want him to, he can do that, but it doesn't really hit the heart. But when he writes maybe like little sticky note love notes or grateful notes, I would say that really hits me because then I can put those in my keepsake book or whatever it may be.
Absolutely. It's a conversation because in case you haven't noticed, everybody, we all don't do so well at guessing what our spouse is like. We don't do so well at, you know, this idea of, oh, I can just read their mind. I know what they want. We do a whole lot better and can have greater success if we're like, hey, instead of me guessing, what are the best ways for me? Like, how can I express that to you that's really going to land at your heart? And yeah, some of this might not be second nature to you. It might be a little awkward the first couple of times, but do the reps. You guys, when we first started the podcast, if you've listened to any of those old episodes, it was a
rough
thing. It was rough.
Yeah.
We can do it now because we've done so many reps, right? So here's some of the ideas that you all had in terms of ways that you like to express or give your thankfulness.
Okay.
Compliments, hugs and kisses, verbal affirmation, touch, unexpected notes and text. Tony still has a sticky note on his bathroom mirror, 2 months? I mean, we haven't been here that long, but
yeah, 2.5 months.
2.5 months. It just sits there. I see it every day. He sees it every day. Bringing coffee with a treat, initiating sex. I tell him how God blessed me with him. Those are all ways that you like to give.
And then on the other side, how you like to receive. And so you'll see that these two can be
very different.
And understanding where your spouse is in this can help you to be able to share how thankful you are. And in doing so, you deepen the connection and the closeness with your spouse, which is, as we've said before in the 6 pillars of intimacy, that is what true intimacy is. Intimacy isn't sex. It's closeness and connection. So how do you receive it? Quality time. Recreational intimacy, activities, fun things you get to do, being fully present with me, making me my favorite treat.
Somebody very specifically did say chocolate chip cookies.
Oh.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Kind of a fan.
Yep. Hugs and intimacy, taking something off my plate. Encourage me.
Encourage me time.
Encourage me time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because those lists are not identical. There are a couple that cross the list, but not identical. And I think it really, in this week, let's not just assume that what we're doing is exactly, and it's okay to ask. I mean, maybe even say, hey, I heard Tony and Elisa on the podcast and they were talking about it. And I know it seems kind of weird, but I'm just going to ask you, like, how do you like to receive my gratitude, my thankfulness, my appreciation? Because I'm just curious. I want to get it right. I mean, I think it's sometimes if we just lead with, hey, I want to get this right with you. Especially those of us that have been married. I mean, Tony and I are at 28 years. We know the one family is everywhere from dating and engaged to 50 plus years. Somewhere in the middle. But this week, you know what? Grab the free gratitude planner that we have here at One Extraordinary Marriage. Take a couple minutes. Sit down. Jot down your thoughts. What are you thankful for this year when it comes to your spouse and your marriage? Because I want you to know that what works for one couple might not work for you, but then you might have your own secret sauce that you need to let your spouse know that you are thankful for this year.
Yeah. And to pick up that free gratitude planner, you can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/gratitude. I'll put a link here in the episode notes for you. But as you look at this week, go do it. This is your chance. This is your time. Like, let's go after it. Elisa and I say this every single year. We are coming to the end, and you got two choices. Man, you can look back and go, man, these are the things I'm grateful for, or you can dig in your heels and be all mad and upset and going into 2025 just scowling. And I will tell you, I would rather find what I'm thankful for, what I'm grateful for, and start to switch my mindset and really start to switch what's going on in my marriage, because we can use that as a launching pad into 2025 and beyond. So pick up that free gratitude planner, because it's an easy way for you to get started. And we wanted to make something and have something for you so you could just make this happen. You guys, for those of you here in the wonderful United States of America, happy Thanksgiving to you. To all of the One family around the world, thank you for being who you are. We are truly honored and blessed to have you part of the One family. You guys go out there, make this week amazing, and create your extraordinary marriage. Love you guys. Thank you for listening to the One Extraordinary Marriage Show. If you love this podcast, please leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you are listening. Your review helps others find the show and know that it's the right fit for them and their marriage.